Oh, there we
And
go.
we're
Hello,
here.
everyone. Welcome. Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome, everyone. It's been a while. Hello, I'm here. It's Thursday, and we're doing a show because we have a guest. We need
Yes.
guests to come back on, and we need to start doing these shows again. So I'm well enough to do them. So welcome, everyone. Joining me, of course, is my co-host,
Me,
Daniel
Dan
Payton,
Payton.
right?
Yeah, I have a name in the bottom of the screen here. It's me,
Yeah.
Dan Payton. I have to
Just
read it every so
in
often
case.
because I see so many people, I forget that name.
Just
No.
in case you did not know, folks, his name is right there. So
Right
we're
there.
just waiting for people to show up here.
Yep. So again,
what's been
for
going
those who
on?
are watching, if you're watching on recording, just remember to like and share this. We should be live on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. Of course, we're through StreamYard right now, so we're on. Hello, Valerie.
Yes.
Since the last time we talked,
Yeah,
I have done 3 book signing events, 2 weddings.
I know.
I'm going crazy. I actually had one that got canceled, but that one got canceled. I'm sad. I missed it. I've been that one for years, and it's the first time I've ever not gone to it. But the same weekend, I got booked for Salt Lake City Comic Con. I'm going to go to Fan X in Salt Lake City.
When is this?
That is the end of September. I'm going to be leaving the last day of August, and I'm going to spend a week in Atlanta for Dragon Con. And then I come home, and I have just a brief minute time home, and then I'm running off to Salt Lake City for Fan X in Salt Lake City. Then I come home, have about 2 weeks off, and then I should be doing Motor City's second Comic Con of the year, if I set it right. And then after that is Toledo in October. And then November, I was supposed to be in Indianapolis, but I've backed out of that one. So for other reasons, long stories I don't want to talk about. But let's just say for November, I'm actually mildly free. But I have a friend who's dying to bring me to the Renaissance Festival in Texas in November.
Oh.
So
You're
crazy. I'm actually planning Saturday. I'm heading off to RenFest here in Michigan. It's in Holly, Michigan. And if anybody's not been to a Renaissance Festival, they're a hoot. They're fun. And you get all dressed up for them. And last year, I went to a booth there that's they make boots and sandals and shoes, handmade leather Renaissance for cosplay. And I spent a small portion and got myself.
Oh.
These are
those.
handmade leather boots.
Wait, are they blue?
Yep, they're blue.
Ooh, I like the color. Well, blue's my favorite color, so it's the same color as my car.
I have a Winter Wizard costume I wear, and so I thought I needed shoes because I'm wearing the Winter Wizard costume when I do some book signings and RenFest and some things, and I'm wearing that, and then my shoes are like Skechers. And it's like, it breaks the flow. So I got these handmade leather ones, and these are nice. So I would definitely, if you ever get to go to RenFest, the people who made this, it's Sons of Sandalwood. They have booths at every one of these RenFests all over the country. So they make a really, really nice product. So, but
nice.
pitching that a little there. But yes, it's been crazy for me, but in like good ways. It seems like everybody around me has had catastrophic things happening, car problems, medical problems. I mean, I feel like I'm in the eye of a storm sometimes, and I'm the calm one, which is sad, really, really sad.
Yeah. You've been doing all the fun stuff.
Yeah, fun is relative there. These Comic Cons are tiring.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Dragon Con more than I can say because it's such an event. I have been dying to go to it for years, and this is my first chance to actually be able to do it. I mean, go to it as in actually have a booth and promote my books and all, and I'm going to do that. So I'm really excited for that. It's going to be an interesting experience because this event is a 6-day event. It's long. There's a lot to it. So I'm a little nerve-wracked about it, but I'm still very excited to do that one. I wish you could be there. I wish y'all could come see me there. But
I have to plan it out. There's no reason for that. I cannot go anymore. There's no reason now. So
yeah.
free. Yeah, it just needs to be planned out. Absolutely. And as long as I can get there, which I know I can, I'll go. I don't care. Absolutely. So, question about these book signings when you go to these places. I know some authors usually will focus on the latest book that came out or all of them, if they can or whatever. What do you focus on when you do your books?
I try to gauge what the Comic-Con feel is. If the Comic-Con is highly superhero anime, I'll bring out my superhero books more and prominently more display them. But if it's I can feel like the actors who's going to be there, it's more fantasy. I focus on my fantasy, but I usually have a selection of all of my books on the table, so they're always out there. But I do like to showcase what's new. Now, if I've been to an event before in the past, I like to showcase what's new in a series because a lot of people come up and go, "Oh, I loved your books," and I was like, "Hey, check this out! I got more." And more usually sells because they love that. So that's always fun. But yeah, I don't recommend authors don't put out what they have. If you have multiple books, even if it's a few years ago that you published it, put it out there. If it's new to somebody, it's new.
Right.
So I do, as I said, I do kind of gauge it though. If it's more, again, superhero anime, I try to get my superheroes at the forefront. If it's fantasy, science fiction, I've got my sci-fi books. They're prominent. Speaking of which, I don't know if you've seen my notes. Earth's Last Starship 2 is in the process, definitely in the throes of editing. I've been talking with the publisher about book cover. We're on the path of that one. I don't have a date yet, but I have a feeling this Christmas season we're going to have Earth's Last Starship 2 come out from Cosby Media. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, Braxton, you made me happy. Oh, my goodness. So I'm waiting only because I haven't read it. I have no idea. So, right? Yeah. You didn't send me
you haven't read it yet. I do plan on when we get the manuscript, the finalized edited form, I get a PDF. I'm going to shoot it to you. So you can read like an ARC reader. You'll get ahead so you can read it and give a review before it's published. That's what ARC reading does, is advanced reader copy. So, well, Brian, you are the main character of this story. You know that.
I know.
Captain Brian Shepard is the main character of this story. And in fact, as I've told you, I'm not spoiling anything for people. I'm not. Whereas the first Earth's Last Starship balanced between Brian and Sherry's characters and had a lot of Sherry's character kind of presented in it, this one is actually very focused on Brian.
Oh.
So you have a lot more screen time, you should say, for this one. So I wanted to, because I felt like, that's the captain. That's the main character. I need him to have the story, running it along. So I'm excited. I'm wondering how you're going to feel about it. It's not the same. It's definitely a new story. So we get it out there. But as I said, I've been in contact with them. They're on their way, and I'm trying to do little early promotion of it to get people back to interested in it. So I never thought I'd write a sequel to this one, but I've had so much request from a lot of people and from you, I had to. So it's a coming.
I just had to do it. I'm like, one is not enough. I'm going to be greedy because, I love the character. It's me.
So, So sequel number 2 is coming out. And if people love that one, then maybe number 3 will be written. I don't know.
Oh, my God. Okay. Overload. Yeah. So, and speaking of books, before we bring our guest on, because I can't wait to talk to him. Mine's done. It was I wrote it as a podcast, so it's serialized. So that's what I do, and I love it. But I decided people wanted it in print. I'm like, okay, sure. So it's only 77 pages, but people can buy it on Amazon. So Fear on the High Seas has been done. I write, gay romance. That's what I kind of, for now anyways, but I'm dabbling now into like Indiana Jones type thing going on, which is the new book that I've been reading, which I'm on. I just chapter 4. And then I'll bounce back to the other series, for book 2, because there's going to be 4 books in each series. That's how I'm doing them. So I don't know. I'm finding it to be fun because now I got fans and like listeners and people who are demanding, like, what is going on with you? Why are you not releasing anything? Where is the next chapter? You know, when can we expect it? And then it gets a little uglier. You know, I'm going to stop listening to you. You need to put it out there. Listen, I've been going through some medical stuff. Okay. So I've been posting. I apologize to people, but you know, I'm rolling them out. So it's fun. So, and along with my podcast that I do, so I do 2.
Mm-hmm.
So we got Jack Jameson going on, which is my Josh Gates kind of a person. And then Murder in Stratton County, which is a 16 chapter book, which I wrote with a friend, which that's done. But I'm also reading that one as well. So people are liking this murder mystery thing going on. So, yeah.
I have my Joshua of Egypt that we also I'm producing through that page, and I've had people telling me that they're going to be listening to it like when they're on vacation. They want to listen to the whole thing, and so I'm like, I got to get more in there because I don't think there's enough.
Right. Listen, there's all these podcasts that people can listen to, like you know, Joshua of Egypt, which we post on there. Chapter 6 already. You got, you know, a couple of mine on there, which they're on every platform. I made sure I threw them on everything. So there's no excuses, people, that you can't listen or you're too busy. I don't want to hear your excuses. Just listen to them, both of them. That's it. That's all I have to say right now.
Well, for mine, I'm gonna try to bridge this into our guests, but mine, I was on my way to Gatlinburg for FanFest in Gatlinburg a few weeks back, and on the road.
Wait. Where is this? What state?
That's Tennessee. Gatlinburg is right outside Pigeon Forge, Sevierville.
Okay.
Gatlinburg is this very touristy place. Beautiful place in the mountains. Highly recommend it. But on my way there, my publisher, who's my newest publisher, Prince of Cats Publishing, is taking the Owl-Headed Wand and publishing it. Well, they asked me if there was a possibility of a sequel. So I already had definitely ideas for a sequel for it. Well, on the road, I had this splash of inspiration, and I started writing it down. And then I got to the hotel and literally unpacked the hotel. We had a day between getting there and the start of the convention. I ran down to the lobby and I was just typing, and I've been working ever since, an outline for the sequel. I'm going to try and use this as my National Novel Writing Month book. And it's a sequel to the Owl-Headed Wand. And rarely does this truly happen where I have such an immense story just blossom. And so I'm writing it out. Well, as I'm there, I'm getting ready for this convention, which now, again, this is Gatlinburg. Gatlinburg is a very hot spot for tourism, especially in the end of summer, middle to end of summer time period. Tons of people there, all kinds of events. So I'm at this hotel, not a block away from the convention center, but I'm not expecting to see too many people there who are going to the convention. I mean, there's from all over the world there to visit Gatlinburg. And I sit down to breakfast, and my father's there, and he goes, I think these 2 guys here are going to your convention. I'm like, oh, and I listen, and these 2 guys here are talking about books and publishing, and I'm like, hi there. And I meet them, and they were so nice to talk to, and they have a publishing house, and we really got connected at the FanFest and talked a lot, and I actually have submitted a book to them. So that's who I'm invited tonight. His name's Kyle Hanna, and he's part of that. So I want to introduce Kyle here.
Oh, I like that. I need to try this out here. No, nope.
You're still. Yeah, he's unmuted. Good.
Okay.
There we go.
Here I am. Hi, everyone.
Well, that made me dizzy. So, yes, this is Kyle Hanna. Introduce yourself. Accept your name. I've said that like 3 times now.
If you haven't heard, I'm Kyle Hanna. I am the co-owner of Jumpmaster Press out of Birmingham, Alabama. I am the author of 12 books, the co-owner of Jumpmaster Press, and now apparently Dan's friend. So, you know, my life it's almost complete. I'm right there. I'm right there.
Well, if you're real nice, you'll be Brian's friend too, and it's complete.
Hey, I love more friends. I need more friends.
Hey, don't we all? Don't we all? But yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here on a Thursday night.
Yeah, we enjoy having authors, publishers, anybody in the industry. As I said, I like to promote our show to authors and different pages to show and talk about this. So one of the things that I brought him on here tonight for is the fact that his Jumpmaster Press has an open submission right now. And
Yep.
We see and hear that a lot in publishing. The publishing houses have 2 weeks, a month, or this certain time of year they're open. But what does that really look like on their side? What does that really mean? And I thought, if anybody knows, it's the person who's actually doing it.
And well, thanks for that segue. We've been in business. This is our 5th year, and we've gone from Gene Rowley. He's my business partner and co-author as well. So it's gone from 2 of us to 35 authors from around the world in 4 years. We've done some innovations for products. I'll tell you about a little bit later. But earlier this year, we decided we would slow down a little bit because the growth has been great, but it's also been, as you can imagine, a heck of a burden. I've got almost a dozen books in my editing queue. I'm the editor in chief. So, that is so time consuming. I haven't actually written anything in almost a year. So I'm just getting back into that as well. So, we slowed down a little bit. We stopped submissions except from agents. So we reached out to about 24 agencies and said, "Hey guys, we're here. Send us some stuff." Of course, we're not one of the big 5 or 6, so not a peep out of them. But what we decided to do was, for the month of August, open up for open submissions, and I've gotten several dozen books in the last 2 weeks. I sent out a video blog today, a vlog, just reminding everybody you've got about 13 days to get it in, and then I'm shutting it down for a year to go through, all the stuff that I get in the month of August, and then we'll do it again next year. And we're hoping that sort of levels it out because, like I said, we've got a team of beta readers. They're the last line before it gets published. There's 8 books in their queue. There's 8 or 9 books in my queue. There's 4 or 5 that our signed authors hasn't even sent yet. So we've got plenty of stuff to do. We're putting out 15 to 25 books a year right now. So, but yes, we are open. Send them in. It's here's what I need. I need the first 3 chapters, a bio of you, the author, no headshots, just a quick bio, and a summary of what you're sending. A 1-page summary of the story to include the ending. I want to know how you resolve the conflict. And put all that in a Word document or 2 or 3 and send it to info@jumpmasterpress.com. info@jumpmasterpress.com.
Yeah, we'll definitely be putting that on our page so that people can find that and check it out. Again, it's just to the end of August, so your window will be closing soon. So if you are interested in this, do it. So anybody who's watching this, and again on recording, who's interested, I'll ask some questions hopefully that they're thinking of, such as you mentioned what your requirements, what you want, 3 chapters, the bio, and
initially, yes.
What are some of the mistakes that people have made in that part?
Okay. Before I answer that, let me plug something. We have a writers group on Facebook, Jumpmaster Press Writers Group. And if you'll join that, you will get access to a monthly seminar that we do, which is free via Zoom. The next one's coming up next Thursday. And we talk about that very subject. This coming Thursday is some of the big mistakes that the editors see. And I actually had a discussion with another publishing house's editor the other night, and we see a lot of the same stuff. So, some validation for me. But the main things are going to be stuff like passive voice, where you're telling the story instead of showing it. Descriptions, just real small grammatical errors, those kind of things like that. M dashes and ellipses, the difference. And, I didn't even know that till I started editing. So, but yeah, just grammatical errors, but the big ones are going to be passive voice, show, don't tell, and grammar. Those are the three big ones.
Okay, now that you're talking about in the manuscript there.
Yes, yes.
But mine is also within this submission, because that's something I've talked to like agents and publishers for. They're like, people don't read the requirements, and they just like they send the whole manuscript with nothing else. It's like, we didn't ask for that. We needed this.
I try to be nice. I submitted something a few weeks ago to someone else, part of an anthology, and I pulled out their requirements and I went line by line, and I was making changes as I was reading, because, a lot of public agents, publishers, they'll say, I want it done in XYZ. If you don't have it done specifically in XYZ, they're just going to delete it and you'll never hear from them again. Mm-hmm. I got one this morning, believe it or not, and looked at it, and I sent it back to him. I said, can you combine these in one document, in one Word document? They sent me 3 chapters in 3 PDF files. So I was nice, and I just sent it back, and then they responded about 2 hours later, and I got what I asked for. And there's a reason, at least in our case, there's a reason we asked for something specifically. I like Word documents. They're easy for me to edit. Mm-hmm. And as I was telling Dan and Brian earlier, when you submit to us, you're going to get feedback. If you've ever submitted to an agent or Bain or Tor or Simon & Schuster or whoever else, if you got hey, we got your submission, you're ahead of the game, whether you ever get anything else or not. But what we do everything a little bit differently. So when you submit to us, it's very rare that I send out an outright rejection. Normally what we do, go ahead. What we normally do is we send out revision letters. And what you'll get is you'll get a highlight of what we liked, and then a quick edit on the first few pages to give you an idea of what you to look for to help improve your craft. It's just a little feedback that can go a long way.
Which is very rare. I will say this to anybody listening. That's actually very rare in publishing. The vast majority of agents and publishers that I have interacted with, they're what I call silent responders. They will only respond if they're interested. Otherwise, and this is a pet peeve of mine. At least some will say, if you haven't heard from us in 6 weeks, that means we're not saying, okay, at least that gives me something of 6 weeks. I'm good. They're not wanting me. But when they just say, if we don't respond, that means we didn't want it. But they don't give me time, nothing. I'm like, it's been 3 years. Are you ever going to respond? I'm left hanging. And, I give my own requirements there. I'm like, if it's been 3 months and they give me nothing like that, I'm done. I'm done waiting on you. Yeah,
because, as an author that's been through that before I started my own company, okay, what's the right amount of time? Because, okay, I've waited 60 days. As soon as I send something else off, it's like, hey, we're interested. Well, crap, why didn't you tell me? So, but.
Yeah, that's a giant pet peeve on my end. And I know a lot of authors is the silent responders, because at least a rejection letter. I don't care if it's a form letter. I know there now, pin in it, we're done.
Right.
That. But but to get actual feedback, whether or not they're going to publish. And I asked this question before we started, and I'm going to let you reiterate this. You will send this feedback even to a book that you yourselves probably wouldn't publish.
Correct.
Because it's not within your scope of what you normally publish.
Right. Jumpmaster Press, JMP for short, we are open for all genres except erotica and poetry. And on our website, jumpmasterpress.com, you'll see murder mysteries, children's books, regular, run-of-the-mill fiction. And I don't mean run-of-the-mill like, it's just your standard story. I mean just general fiction. Sci-fi, fantasy, time travel. We love time travel. So all of those things are out there. But yes, even if it's something, because let me say this: we partner with other publishers. We've got friends that do romance. So if you submit me a romance, we're probably not going to go down that road, but I'll give you a little feedback, and if it's good, I'll recommend you to our partner publishers. Um, it's we're not in a real competition with anyone. There's enough pieces of the pie to go around. So if I can help an author achieve their dream of opening up that box of books, and because Dan, Brian, you know the feeling. You get this big box, you slice it open very, very carefully, and you open it up, and there's your book staring you in the face, right?
Yeah.
Authors live for that. I've got one coming next week. So, I'm waiting. But if my feedback can help someone achieve that dream, I'm going to do it. It may be 30 minutes, it may be an hour out of my busy schedule, but to me, it's worth it if somebody can go, this clicks, and then they write, they take their writing to the next level. I win. Whether I publish it or not, I win.
Yeah, I've said it many times, and I will repeat this every time. When authors think that this is a competitive business, they're wrong. There is way more appetite for books than there are authors to create them.
Correct.
So whenever I see an author or a publisher who's getting competitive, who is bad-mouthing another author, that kind of marketing, I'm like, you know what? You are outside of this game. You don't know what you're facing. The rest of us are over here looking at you going, you're the idiot.
Well, I mean, when we were in Gatlinburg, I sent several people over to your table. Mm-hmm. Oh, you like this kind of fantasy? Go see Dan.
I was sending people over to you.
Yeah. So, because, whether they buy my books or not, if they're readers, I want them to keep reading. It is quickly becoming a lost art of just sitting on the back porch, which is where I have to be right now. Just sitting on the back porch and reading something, sipping a little moonshine or having your own whatever drink you want. It's relaxing. So just, go do it.
You can binge watch a wonderful story without advertising, streaming services, or even have to have a television on. Just pick up a book. Pick up a book. So it's again, I was saying, going back to Jumpmaster Press here, the whole getting a revision letter is such a rare thing. I have only ever encountered an agent, not a publisher, but an agency that liked to do that. But they were some of the rudest people I had ever read from. Their response was so snobby. And so I was like, thank you for responding. Have a nice day.
Gina and I joke about it that he's the scalpel, I'm the blunt instrument. So why I'm dealing with the public, I still don't know. It's a joke. But when I'm talking with these writers and I remember it wasn't that long ago, it was just 10 years ago, that was me. One book on the table, really not knowing what to do with it, and trying my best to figure it out. Then I found a publisher, and their editor, she lacks some soft skills, if we will. She was very blunt, but I learned. I spent 30 years in the Army. I can deal with blunt. Okay, that's not the problem. But I learned from her, and if I can take the skills I learned from her and help someone else just starting off, whether it be a teenager or somebody in their 70s, so be it. I'm going to try to help. That's my nature.
I've been on the end of looking for a publisher, having my first book in my hands as printed out pieces of paper, dreaming that it turns into a book on its own somehow magically. And so when I have this every single show, and I know you probably have this too, you have somebody walk up to you and they want to tell you all about the story that they're writing. And I'm not blunt with them, but I'm also honest with them. First of all, I always tell them I can't take, because they want to hand it to me. A lot of times I'll have ones want to hand me something. I'm like, I'm not a publisher, and it would be legal issues for me to take that.
Yeah.
And there are some people who have contracts, bigger authors do. I'll be very honest, I don't have that kind of contract. I technically could take it, but it can spin into the wrong direction. However, I also can't publish it. I'm in no position to do that.
And I've had people bring me their self-published books. Oh, take a copy, and I'm like, I've got enough books on the shelf. I don't need yours. However, and this is, this is the caveat. However, we do have a writer's seminar once a month. Come join us.
Yeah.
And because I always segue everything back to that writer's group, because I can't help you at a con. I'm there to sell books. But, once you're in the writer's group, one of the other things we like to do is Gene and I can do a one-on-one session for 30 minutes to an hour with, some of our students when they're almost to that point. I'm stuck here. I need this. I need that. I don't mind taking an hour out of my day to help someone. So what is the?
Oh yeah. Okay. What is the mistake that you see that people make the most?
Well, hold on a second. Okay, it's going. The sunlight was fading fast. The biggest mistake that we see is passive voice. Writing thing, you want to write in active voice. I always harp on, when you're writing a book, you need to immerse the reader in the story. When you're sitting around a campfire and everybody's, joking and having a good time, you can tell a story, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're in conversation, you can just tell a story. But when you're writing, you want it to be active. You want it to be immersive. You want to reach out. This is me. Okay, this is me. I want to reach out and emotionally touch you and put you in this story. Mm-hmm. And I do this with by relaying real life experiences that I think most people will have, like, a death in the family, or a birth in the family, or losing a best friend. There's millions of different ways an author can connect with the reader emotionally, and once you get them emotionally, then you can really ram that story home. But the biggest issue that I see is passive voice. Mm-hmm. For instance, Jake was walking down the street. Okay, was walking is passive voice. So you want to show it. You want to make it active. Jake walked down the street. I call it in-your-face writing. Everything needs to be pushing that story forward. I hope that helps, Valerie.
That's one that was ground out of me early on. I tell people, and I said this before, that I find there is a place and time in writing for a passive voice, but it has to work. If it doesn't work in the scene, then it doesn't work, and just flat out, and you'll know it because you'll be reading it, and especially if you have an eye for it, suddenly you'll be going, "Oh, I just slipped in passive," But if it works, you'll know it. It doesn't interrupt the scene, doesn't interrupt the flow of the energy of the storytelling at that point.
Exactly.
That's a difficult one for newer authors. But I was saying
that and show don't tell. Those are the two big ones. You want to show the action. You're not just telling a story. Dialogue's different, but in the narration, you want to show what's going on. And once you get those two concepts, your writing takes a leap forward. And I'm going round and round with one of our authors right now. He wrote it he writes telling, and he's throwing all this stuff out here about this big name does it this way and this big name does it that way. And I'm this close to just saying, well, when you make it that big, you can write that way. But for right now, this is what you need to do. It'll make the writing better. And that's, as the editor, that's my job. I'm not here to change your story or change your voice. I'm here to take a good story and make it a little bit better.
Yeah, when I work with, I have people come to my booth and they want to tell me, and the ones that I will actually take some time to talk to more about their writing are the ones when they come and talk about the fact that they're currently writing and they want to know what it's to do this. And so I'll take a moment and I'll give them a few pointers on how to go from having an idea up here, I really always want to write it, to actually completing something. Right. And because I get questions, and I know you get this too. I know I'll get it. Where someone comes up and says, okay, well, I've got like 3 chapters written. When should I start like publicizing this on my Facebook page? And should I talk about buying some advertising space now? And I'm like, one person is at the FanFest asked me if they should get a booth at the Comic-Con next year to talk about the book that they're going to publish in a few years. They're going to spend the money and the weekend just to sit there and tell people about the book.
Sure, go for it.
And I'm like, if you want to, fine. But honestly, I said the number one thing you need to do to become an author is finish something.
Yeah, because I know you guys probably get the same question. You know, what advice do you give to new authors? And I always frame it like this. I said, well, set yourself a goal. Let's say you want to write 80,000 word book, 75,000 word book. Set a goal for 1,000 words a day. In 75 or 80 days, you're done. And the realization, clicks on. Says, yes, it's that easy. You set yourself a goal, and a little bit every day. It's not that easy because it requires writing, but achieving those goals. I sat down yesterday. I have a 1,500 to 2,000 word goal a day. I wrote 2,013 words yesterday. I'm like, goal, and but it is that easy, really, if you want to do, if you look at it like that. The other piece of advice that I give is keep writing. Don't start this circular logic thing where you go, okay, I need to go back and edit chapter 2. No, you need to finish the book. Then you can go back and start editing. Otherwise, you get in this vicious circle and you never finish. And that's what discourages so many people from writing. If you've got an idea about how to change chapter 2, make you a note, get you a sticky pad, put you a note on there, put it in big, bold, red letters in your Word document, change this, whatever it takes. But then keep moving forward. Once you write the end, or stay tuned for book 2, or whatever it is, then the real work begins when you go back and start editing your own stuff.
Yeah. I have 3. Actually, 2 of those fit perfectly in my first 2. My first one is write every day.
Yes.
Mine's write every day. I said, and I don't give them a word limit, although I will say Nano is a great practice at any time of the year. Set yourself a goal for a month of writing and then meet that goal. And you'll be surprised what you've trained yourself to do. But write every day. I call it button seat syndrome. Get your butt in the seat an hour a day and write. Yes. Give yourself the homework to write. The second one is no editing. That I hear all the time. Self-editing while you're writing will stunt the growth of your book.
It will.
Finish it. And that also includes, don't sit there and plan a 5-book series when you haven't finished one book. Because I have lots of people who find that they drive to a grinding halt in book 1. Well, I have 7 books I planned up here, but book 1 is killing me. I'm like, no. Finish a story. And then write story 2. Don't think about story 7 while you're not even halfway through story 1. Okay, that kind of fits up with my last one. This comes from fantasy and science fiction more than any other realm because of this world building.
Yes,
I have people who will come to me. One of my very first people I ever talked to, a boy in Knoxville, who was like, "You've written all these books. This is amazing. What kind of world building did you do?" And I'm like, "Well, I did this. This is how I did it in the book." "Oh, yeah, well, I'm working on this epic fantasy." And he told me he had 7 binders of world building, of places and names and people and language and all this stuff. And I said, that's pretty interesting. How about the story? Well, I haven't started writing it yet.
When I did a class, one of our seminars is on world building, and I did a sci-fi trilogy, very Star Wars-esque, with all the alien races. And when I sat down to do the aliens, I had so much fun because, we're so used to, when people look at something, they'll try to humanize it, right? Because that's what they're familiar with. The Earth rotates a certain way. It's at a certain axis. It's been, a day is a day kind of thing. When I start world building, I go absolutely bonkers. I'll reverse the spin. I'll make it almost flat for an axis. All these different things, heavy gravity, light gravity, and then I have fun with it. And one of the alien races I did, I made them secrete an odor that smelled like cinnamon anytime they got nervous. So when they're mixing with all these humans on this planet, everybody's going, "What is that?" And I just had fun with it. And that's what you need to do, because that makes it interesting for the reader.
One advice I usually give to people who want to world build in both fantasy and science fiction, if you want to do world building, I actually dissuade from too heavy of a world building before you write your book. You do some. Make sure you build your world. You definitely need a world to put your story in, but you don't need 7 volumes of notes about what currency they used 30 years ago in this one pocket. No one cares. Okay, I'm sorry, no one cares. But one thing I do tell people is to put yourself in the feet, put in your shoes, in whatever of the character, the alien race, the fantasy race, and then experience the world as they would experience it. And exactly. I did that, and it's weird. I'm going to say it this way, but Earth's Last Starship has a race. That's my sci-fi book, and I've got a sequel to it. Has a race in it that I decided. Now I've created this race before for a different fan fiction, and they are cat people. They're lion-like cat people that don't wear clothes. They don't understand. In fact, they didn't understand clothes. It doesn't make any sense to them, and. Right. And I've had people who've been very positive, very complimentary about how I built this race because they're so different about that. And I had fun creating a society like that and making it unique. And how would it grow in ways that ours wouldn't? Right. And then because I said, put myself in there, suddenly I had to ask myself this question. Well, they have really strong sense of smell. What would it be like to meet humans who are jogging for the first time? You're meeting for the first time, and so you're trying not to offend them, but the whole time you're going, because you're smelling what they don't smell. Right. And you're like,
and those kind of little differences like that really set apart alien races, because remember, once we do make contact, even if they kind of looked remotely similar to us, their backgrounds are going to be different. They're going to have different this, different that, So when you're world building, have fun with it. But, you can make it similar to our world and our beliefs, or you can't, or not. It's truly up to you. I see John said regarding world building, I always start small. I do too. And then, I'll expand on it based on the needs of the story.
Yes.
Sometimes I will go a little extra as far as, how they got to this point. I do want to know a little bit of history to get the alien, to find out why the alien worlds got the way they are. Via conflict, famine, they all just got along for millennia, whatever it is. But, there's no 7 binders of information now.
I'm going to say this before we move on, because this was what somebody asked me how I built this for these characters. They mate for life. That was just an initial thing I came up with because of the kind of creatures they are. But then it made me think about the world. what would Earth be like if we had no pornography, no prostitution throughout our history, because the idea is completely abandoned from our thinking. It's
Right.
not like something we're against. Truly, it's beyond our comprehension, because I thought, wow, what would make that society work differently? And that was actually very strenuous to create and work around. But I had fun doing it because it stretched me. I have one question I'm going to ask you before I get into talking about your books, which I really want to talk about your books. But
Okay.
I saw one of your authors is somebody I admire because I am a huge Star Trek fan. There, you have published Armin Shimmerman's books.
Yes.
And for those Star Trek fans out there, he played Quark on Deep Space Nine.
Yes.
How?
It was November of 2019. We were at a convention in Louisville, Kentucky, and I make it a point to just walk around and say hi.
Mm-hmm.
Especially and I'll walk up to a celebrity's table and I'll look over their headshots, and if it's something like I met Christy Swanson at the same thing, Buffy herself.
Mm-hmm.
Big fan. It happened to be my birthday, so she gave me a headshot that says "Happy Birthday, Kyle." Boom. I was like, "Cool, happy birthday to me." But my wife and I were walking around, and Armin was just sitting there, and I said hi. He goes hi back. Or, did you watch the show? And I had to admit that at that time I had not watched Deep Space Nine. And around my neck, I had the lanyard for the show, and we have a little card that we sell our ebooks on. We don't send people to Amazon or anywhere else. We can, sell the ebooks. And he asked me, what that was. I said, well, I'm a publisher. This is my ebook. And he looked at me. He goes, well, I wrote a book. And I said, well, why don't you send it to me? And I handed him my card. And about a week later, I got an email from him. And it was, the latest draft of this monumental, like 250, 300,000 word tome that he had written. And my business partner and I, we got on a Zoom call with him, and it's like, I'm sitting here talking to Armin Shimmerman. Yes, yeah. And he's just he's sitting there, he's literally like this. Go ahead, get it out of your system. Go ahead. And so we talked to him, and and now it's like I can, hey Armin, how's it going, man? And call him. I got his number. I mean, it's so weird. But that's how we got Armin Shimmerman and his trilogy about historical fiction, the Elizabethan era. It's just a chance walking by and saying hi.
I do have the hobby, and Brian can attest to this. I have the hobby of going and meeting the celebrities whenever I go to these. I mean, at one at FanFest, I got talking a lot with John Wesley Shipp, who played on The Flash, a lot. We talked quite a bit. And then Daniel Kuntz and Halloween Town. I've talked to them the whole time because I'm a big fan of Halloween Town. I love that movie series. It's my Halloween series.
I mean, we have learned, especially through Armin, they're human beings. People fanboy, fangirl on them all the time. But if you just walk by and say hi and treat them like a human being, they love that. I mean, they truly do. Armin's editor, who is one of our authors, she also edited some books for another celebrity. And I'm not going to drop his name right now, but we're going to talk to him about bringing his stuff to Jumpmaster Press. And then I'll be back on the show to tell you all about that. But
spoiler, it's one of my books. It's just a big name.
Okay. Dan, you were number 2 on the list. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's the story. And now, we're bringing him out a couple of times a year to some of our conventions and letting him meet the public and sign and sell his books. And he's having a blast.
Yeah, I met Armin Shimmerman almost 20 years ago at a Comic-Con, It was one of the first times I went to one. I just was going to it. It was way before I was published, and he and Renee Auberjonois were there, Odo and Cork, and I met both of them. At the time, I was aspiring to be an actor, so I would talk to the actors from the perspective of what is acting like, what's it like to be at the studio.
Right.
And they loved it. That was something. It's like, oh, you're not talking about Star Trek, because back then this is, when Star Trek is like peaking. So they were like, oh, you're not fanning over Star Trek. Well, let's talk about and this is what a script is like. We loved it. But Renee, he did a charity. He'd bring with him do charity work at Comic-Cons.
Mm-hmm.
And the day he came in, his crew did not show up to set up everything. And so he grabbed me, and because I was asking about acting, because I knew he was director. And I was talking about it, and he grabbed me and said, why don't you help me set this all up? And so I spent the whole day with him, and then Armin was part of the whole thing. And so that was, for a fanboy of Star Trek, at one of these things, I have never let go of, because it was so much fun. And Armin was such a genuine person. As far as,
and one of the nicest humans I've ever met in my life. The week after Gatlinburg, we flew him into Knoxville. And so this was 2 weeks ago now. We had a great weekend. I mean, people were lining up to see him and buying his books. And, he told us, he says, I don't want my tombstone to read actor. I want it to read husband, actor, author, thespian, blah, blah. I'm just, he wants his laundry list of stuff. And now he's an author and a damn good one. He's got the skills. That's all I'm going to say. It's a great series. It's called Illyria. The first book is Betrayal of Angels. It's set in the Elizabethan period. It's real people, but in fictional circumstances. It's a great series.
Okay, now speaking of books, I want to talk about your books, because other than editing and conventions and all this fun stuff, you're right. As you've mentioned, you're right. Let's talk about your books.
Okay.
Tell me about it.
I behind me, right over there, those are all the books I've written, but I picked 3 to talk about because, the first one is called Time Assassins. It's an alternate history time travel. It's actually the second book I ever wrote. But it's the one where I learned how to be a writer. It was originally published by the lady with no soft skills, but it's alternate history time travel, and I truly started learning the craft with that trilogy. It's 3 books, and it's think quantum leap with historical events. My assassins go back in time and fix alternate history into our history. And I wrote it as a history lesson. We've all had that professor or high school teacher. Abraham Lincoln was killed in Ford's Theater in April of right. So I wanted to do something different, and the story is very immersive. We'll stick with Lincoln. During the play, your character is in the audience watching the play. And when the shot rings out and everybody scatters, you're carried along with the crowd. It's very immersive. You're getting jostled and all this stuff. So, great reviews. It is by far my best-selling books, those 3. I've sold thousands and thousands of them across the Southeast. And now I'm looking to head out further west, further north to find some new audiences. So that one definitely is one.
Come my way. I'm always trying to get authors to come my way.
Where are you guys
Massachusetts. Come to Massachusetts.
He's in Massachusetts.
Actually, I have 2 of my authors live in Boston and 2 in New Jersey. We will probably be up that way sometime soon. Absolutely.
I'm in Michigan, Southeast Michigan.
We're kind of looking. We're going to do Ohio next year. We're looking for something out west, so Armin doesn't have so far to fly. those kind of things. So it's going to be, we're definitely branching out a little bit next year. We're going to be in Virginia. We're putting the final touches on that one. That's going to be a charity event, so it's going to be really cool.
Nice.
The second book I chose to talk about is called Harvest Day, and it is a dystopian after the aliens invade. And the reason I chose this one, it won Best Sci-Fi Novel at the Imagine Awards in 2020. And
Nice.
That's one of those, it took me years to get the storyline right, like 5 years. I wrote a little bit, I'd find something else to work on, I'd come back to it. And finally, it all clicked. And that's one of my favorites as well. It's just such a good story because it's got the remnants of humanity. It's got the alien and the world building for them. And I like to throw curveballs at people. It's because that's what keeps a book interesting. Here's something you didn't expect. Oh, wow, that's great, kind of thing. So yeah, that's my award winner there. And
Nice.
And the last one I chose is called 1,000 Cuts, and it is available on pre-sale right now. It's not even out yet. And it's available for 10% off on our website, jumpmasterpress.com. And it is a futuristic crime thriller. So it's got Tampa, Florida, Chattanooga, Atlanta, Georgia, but I put it about 30 years in the future just so that I could take a few liberties with transportation or this. And spoilers, I flooded Tampa in a hurricane. So there's some aspects there that lend to the drama while they're in Tampa. And let me say this, when you do stuff like that, you have to have a modicum of realism. You have to maintain the laws of physics or whatever it is. I went through and looked at, I said, okay, the hurricane came through in 2035 or whatever. So I went and looked for hurricane names in 2035. They have them posted.
Mm-hmm.
I chose one. That hurricane is going to just rip through. Now, if it actually happens for the people in Tampa, I sincerely apologize. It was just, I am not a Nostradamus, but yeah, those are 3 of my 12 books. I have 12 books and a collection of short stories out now. And yep, that one's available now for pre-sale. Get it 10% off.
Yeah, I actually have destroyed Neyland Stadium and one of the major bridges in Knoxville in my superhero series. And then in my book Remnant, which is my Christian sci-fi book, which is set in the future, when I wrote the book, this was several years ago, first of all, it begins with them destroying Notre Dame, the cathedral in Paris.
Yeah.
And then after the book's published, like months later, Notre Dame burns. And I had people who gone to me going, did you write this already? And I'm like, I didn't burn it. No, it's not me.
Yeah.
There are several parallels.
Not me, man. Well,
parallels.
Yeah. Well, so again, all of my books are available at jumpmasterpress.com. If you'd like to follow me on the social media, I post a lot. I do a vlog each week for the company and blast it out. You can search Jumpmaster Press on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And for me, it's R. Kyle Hanna on Instagram, Twitter. I have 2 pages on Facebook, R. Kyle Hanna Writer, and then Kyle Hanna, my personal page. Follow me on either one. If you're a writer, join the writers group on Facebook and attend some of our seminars. They're a lot of fun. They're hopefully educational, and let us get to know you, get to know us.
Yeah, for people who are watching this now or later, the writing community is a community.
Yes,
and we want to help each other. I will. It's one of my passions is the bad presses and the fraudulent presses, and I get new authors, and I'll tell them I am more than willing to take a moment. You say, so-and-so has contacted me about publishing a book. I'll say, okay. They're saying, who are they? I'm like, give me a second. I know what to look for. I know all the red flags. And I will personally go search their site and come back and give you my report on it. I don't care who you are, because I don't want you trapped like I was at one point.
We tell our students, we tell anybody that comes up, number one, do not pay someone to publish your book. I will tell you, the only money you should outlay is to hire a good editor.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. If someone's coming up to you and say, hey, for $1,500, I'll publish your book, just walk away. It's not worth it. You can do it for free through, any other means. And I say this from experience. My very first book, I dropped the money to get it published. After that, I went through 2 other publishers before Gene and I created Jumpmaster Press. I have run the gambit on what not to do. I am that cautionary tale. Okay. Do not pay someone to publish your book. Hire an editor, hire a good editor, hire Dan or me or Brian. We've got the experience, but it's over going, no, man, no.
I can help with graphic design work. I can
hire a good editor. And yeah, that could be a little expensive, but a good one is going to be.
Yeah.
And then you're ready to either publish it yourself, which is an option, find an independent publisher, a small press, or, start sending it out to agents, do you a query letter and shoot for the big leagues.
My other warning is always also to look out for small publishers who don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
And yes. I've not actually had that problem. I almost did with a book actually that I sent you. I had a small time press that honestly didn't know what they're doing. They're people who are just making what I call basement presses. They're just people who are doing it out of the house because it looks like fun. I'm like, they're literally doing what you could do on Amazon.
Exactly.
Yourself.
Exactly.
And it's not. They're not costing anything. They're not frauds, but they're going to do you no good.
And the only other thing on that, when you get a contract, read it, have other people read it, find an author that's gone through this stuff before. If you've got a friend in the business, have them read it, because I can tell you some of these small presses, they don't know what they're doing, and they'll leave out very pertinent things like buyout clauses when you want to leave them. And then they're going, well, because I was told this to my face. There's no buyout clause. I don't have to let you go. But for lots of money, I'll let you. And I didn't have a leg to stand on.
Actually, that's kind of what happened with me, except I know the other direction. They're wrong. If there's no buyout clause, they don't have a leg to stand on. You can walk away and they can't say, well, you have to owe us this. I'm sorry. What says owe me what now?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, so there's both sides to that coin. But again, he's right. If you're dealing with the contract, I don't care who it's from. If you got agent or publisher, a big, small publisher, whatever, if you have a contract, please let somebody who knows what they're doing take a look at it. Please.
I was in negotiations for Time Assassins to be made into a movie, right? So this guy, they sent me a contract, and I knew an intellectual property attorney. I sent it to him. He responded in like 5 minutes. For God's sakes, do not sign this. I'm like, okay. And so once you get a book published, last thing I'll say, once you get a book published, you're going to start getting all these emails from all these legitimate sounding companies that want to take you to the next level or want to make it into a movie or all this stuff. 99.9% of them are scams. I had one last year. They had a professional website. They had a 1-800 number. They had offices in London and New York. Not only did I Google it, I Google Earthed it and looked at the front door. And now I had a friend in the business, and I sent it to him and said, they want X, Y, and Z. He goes, it's a scam. But they put a lot of work into it, and I guarantee you, they get a lot of people that fall for it, and they're raking in the money for absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Well,
Be careful out there.
It is about time we're done. We had a wonderful show. You were great. It was fun. We learned a lot, and I do I do look forward to your interest in my book, but also
look, the submissions close on the 31st.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on vacation the 1st to the 10th. So when I get back from vacation, I'll start going through them. You will hear, I promise, you will hear something from me somewhere between September the 12th and October 31st.
So anyways, thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. I had a blast, and I hope your audience got something out of it.
Yeah, and like he said, they have their own page on Facebook where they do seminars. If you have questions or just interest in this, definitely check out that. I'm going to be checking it out. I'm going to get on there and participate as best I can. As I said, writing is a community, so don't get sucked in by bad publishers, by bad scams, but also learn where the good places are, and also check out their books. Check out Jumpmaster Press. And Brian, do you have anything else?
I have already posted the website on our Facebook page, so they can go there to learn more, because there's other authors on there as well. So I've noticed some interesting books on there that I might take a peek at. So yeah,
we appreciate that. And tomorrow, once all of this is posted as a video, I will share it to all of our platforms and blast it
you
out.
can do that as soon as we end it. As a matter of fact,
I've got to go eat dinner.
Oh, that's right. We all have plans after that. That's right.
Yes,
so tomorrow, absolutely.
I'm off to a swing
I'm going to go
dance.
eat something, watch a little James Bond, chill
There
out
you
for
go.
a little while. I'll post
That's
it in the
more
morning.
important. That's more important.
Okay, everybody. Hopefully, we'll be back next week with another show. Same time, same place.
I hope so,
will
yeah.
also hopefully have another chapter of my book ready for the live reading podcast. And but check out Kyle Hannah's books. Check out Jumpmaster Press, and find us next week as we have another show. Hopefully, another great guest.
Yes.
So, good night, everybody.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for having me, guys.